to the Man Cave Classroom. We're going to be talking about some more of Westward expansion today. I love the shirt. Land of the Free.
Totally not, like, I didn't coordinate this or anything, but I am wearing a Buffalo American flag, Land of the Free.
I'm going to call shenanigans on that. You knew we were talking about Westward expansion. So
Honestly, I didn't.
You arranged your attire.
It was either this or join or die.
I'm not going to judge you.
But my join or die shirt's a little tight and you can see my gut.
Okay. Let's start. I mean, I know good practice would be to start at the objective, but let's look at Manifest Destiny. Let's start there with this cartoon. I hope this tells you something. If you've seen this commercial of the rabbit going through, banging on the drum, it just keeps going and going and going.
It's like the one word, like when we see that painting of John, what's his name?
American Progress.
American Progress.
Yep.
You know, it's like the one, I say, what words pop in your mind when you see this? The kids are like, Manifest Destiny.
Perfect. And that painting, you're just getting a snapshot of it.
Yeah.
I mean, because realistically, what you're talking about here is that when you're looking at the United States, and these next two maps should help to tell the story. When you're looking at the United States, we started off as 13 colonies. Then we became states. Now, you know, we kind of start to move out. Like, for example, what's this area? Give you a hint, 1803 comes up.
Beginning of westward expansion.
We really only wanted this little area right here.
Just this little city right here.
Exactly. Okay, so for those of you who are still thinking, you know, don't go and Google this. All right?
Thomas Jefferson.
This is the Louisiana Purchase.
Go back to the other map for a second.
There we go.
Maps. I love them.
Big fan.
And I feel like our students today don't have an appreciation or understanding of maps. I don't know about you, family road trips as a kid.
Yeah.
I would sit there with the atlas in the back seat, like looking at where we were.
That is really cool.
You know, and be like, oh my God, and then like just try to figure out where we are, where we're going. With GPS now, like these kids don't know.
It really is.
They
easy.
don't know how to read a map, and it's scary. It's scary. Like when I used to teach 7th grade, and we would teach the 50 states. Yeah. How many kids can't locate New York? On a map, like it's scary. But like I can look at maps all day long.
It is cool.
Like Ozark Plateau, you know what I'm thinking?
Yeah.
Ozark, great show.
Yep.
I mean, just like Mississippi River, Missouri River, two of the longest rivers in the world. You know, here's New York, Long Island. I just love it. I love maps. I'm sorry, I'm a map geek.
No, and I'm with you on it because I like to go, okay, where's next? Where have I been?
Yes.
And especially looking at the regions, the different people, and even how communities formed during this time period. And you see a lot of it, especially in places where I've been, whether it be Texas or Mississippi or out west. You kind of still see that development or the remains of it, or that kind of vibe or feel.
You ever road trip through here?
I want to.
It's just miles and miles of nothing.
Yeah.
Cornfields and wheat fields and like the breadbasket of America. It's and then like we drove from Denver, Colorado down to Santa Fe, New Mexico, like the Rocky Mountains. Like
I mean, I did go from New Mexico into Texas along the border.
Okay.
Luckily, with all the activity going there, they really don't care about speeders. So when you're going at a high rate of speed, exclude number, and you have desert on either side, it really is interesting. So bringing all of this together, now that we're bringing our maps and road trips into it, we started off as 13 colonies, went to 13 states. We get this huge land acquisition in 1803, and we're going to move further and further west, Mexican-American War, in the 1840s.
Lewis and Clark.
So now when you start to have these areas and these territories, more and more people, as we saw from previous paintings or pictures, are going to start to go out there. And the thing that we want out there is that a lot of these areas here are territories. Do we want them to be states? Yeah, but what are you going to need? Population and a government. And the one thing, since we're zooming out here, is that the way we want that to happen is that we'd like to have that happen fast. We'd also like to have it make it easier for people to get from the east to the west. And the reason why I'm zooming in on this portion is because I want to zoom in on the trains. That's what's going to help us get to these beautiful areas out west.
Yeah, because if we think back to like our 7th grade curriculum, the
Yeah.
Oregon Trail.
Yes.
You know, you would leave Independence, Missouri sometime around the end of March, beginning of April, and it was a 6-month
Yeah,
journey.
exactly.
6 months. So like today, it's August 13th
Right.
of 2020. If we left today,
I'm gonna get there by
we'd
January.
get to California, sometime in like almost March, 6 months from now, right?
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
math wrong. Okay.
January, February, we're gonna get there.
No, February.
That's like
6 months, you said. September, October,
8?
November, December, January, February.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used our fingers to do that.
yes, we
January.
We're not math teachers.
We would get there in March because he would be stopping to
about it.
take selfies.
Think about it.
Okay, we didn't
Like
factor that in.
inauguration day is January 20th.
Right.
When we will either inaugurate President Biden or Donald Trump will take the second oath of office.
Right.
Like that's 6 months from now, and we get to California.
Seasons will change.
Yeah.
Things will happen.
We will not be dressed like
We
this.
will not be dressed like, there's a whole different thing. So, when we think about going from east to west today, we're like, okay, fine. We're going to leave Long Island. We're going to probably stop in Baltimore, especially if you're in Southwest. You're going to transfer planes. And, you'll be there in a couple of hours.
Yeah, you and I right now, if we really wanted to, we could be having dinner in Los Angeles.
Yes.
If we really wanted to.
Today. If we
Yeah.
booked a plane right now, we'd be having dinner there right now. But
Or London for that matter.
Right. But this is different.
Yeah.
So now what's going to make it easier to get out there? The Transcontinental Railroad. And people, of course, of hearing stories about the West. You have business opportunities. There are opportunities to find gold. Of course, I'm sure when you're looking at opportunities and you're looking at all of this stuff in this landscape that's there, the word is getting out about it. So now what's going to make it easier to get out there? The railroad. Now, with the railroad itself, they're going to need a transportation system that's going to make it easier to carry heavy loads over a long distance. So here is where you're going to hear, for the first time, 3 words that are going to be often used throughout the curriculum this year. You're going to hear faster, easier, cheaper.
I like those safer in there too.
Safer too, faster,
Safer.
easier, cheaper, much more efficient. Those words, can be applied to a lot of things in our society when we're talking about efficiency, when we're talking about speed, when we're talking about reduced cost. So
we get into like the Industrial Revolution,
Oh,
assembly
forget it.
line. It applies to all.
you can apply that to fast food.
Yeah.
It's faster, it's easier, it's cheaper.
Just not healthier.
Just not healthier, right? That's one of the things. So when we're going to need this transportation system that's going to carry heavy loads over great distances. Because again, you're looking here, we're looking at these maps, of course, boats, steamships, trade by ships, it's great. Ships do not travel over land, in case you were wondering.
Yeah, if we go back for a second.
Yep.
If we wanted to ship something from New York
Yeah.
to California, the only way to do that back then was go all the way
down.
around the southern tip of South America. Or you would sail to Panama, transferred by land over to the Pacific side, and then back up. Eventually we'll build the Panama Canal, but
So the government wants people out there. When it comes to the railroad system, well, why not try and help the railroad system kind of develop? You're going to help me. I'm going to help you. So you're going to have companies that are going to want to become involved in building rail lines. A lot of money is going to be involved here as well.
and a great president's idea this was.
Right.
Abraham Lincoln. He again, he's not just the Civil War. When you get into his idea of the Transcontinental Railroad, the Homestead Act that he signs into law, it's just, that's why he's so great.
And even to kind of fast forward there, Mr. Cogan just took us 2 days ahead there. When we're looking at this land out here, you're going to need to get land out. You're going to need to get people out there, and then that land out there, you're going to want people to inhabit this land. So you want to give people opportunities. So this is when we're talking about opportunities within the United States. There's a lot of that you kind of see within this unit. So when we're looking. Here, we're going to have companies that are involved in building these rail lines. Now, if you look here, a subsidy, financial aid or land grant from the government. Well, the thing is that, why is a business going to give land and money? I'm sorry, why is the government going to give land and money to a business? There has to be a reason for it, if it can possibly benefit them. So if we're going back and we're looking at this map, if railroad is going to make it easier for people from the east to west and then travel through all out there, that's going to be something that the government is going to want to invest in. So that's where you get this subsidy.
And a lot of the subsidies in this case came in the form of land grants.
Absolutely.
The Union and Central Pacific lines were given massive amounts of land to build on, and that's actually why they purposely built curves.
Yes.
Into
Oh, because of the way the boundaries were set up.
So that if they had a curve,
Yeah.
they would get paid more. They'd be paid more land because it would, again, math and angles and trajectories
Right.
and stuff.
And of course, you got to remember, when the government is giving land or money to people, that land and money really belongs to the American people. So when they're going to do that, there has to be a good reason for it. And the reason is that this is going to make things faster, easier, and much more efficient when we're talking about rail travel. This is going to help shipping companies out. This is going to help businesses such as the rail lines to kind of exist for a long time. This is definitely going to bring the costs down in terms of shipping.
Yep.
Congress is going to lend that money to the railroad. Of course, I'm sure there's a lot of agreements that took place. You have to build X amount of rail line by a particular date. That's one document that is kind of going through my mind. But building these rail lines.
If you go back to the original map that
Yeah.
we showed,
Yeah, sure.
I asked too, what difficulties are we going to have building this railroad?
Oh.
It's like, hello, Rocky Mountains.
Desert.
You're going across the Rocky Mountains, and the building of this is truly an engineering marvel.
Yes. And when we talk about working on the railroad all the livelong day, I mean, when we're looking at how much they had to build, what they had to build, the resources they had, I mean, this is, apparently they're building, through snow. You're not going to go all of a sudden wake up and go, all right, well, we had a snowstorm last night, let's call timeout and kind of like reevaluate and readjust and kind of build. It's like, no, there is time, there is money, all of these things are a factor into building this rail line. Get up and get to work. And again, probably something that we could see is that, by the hats, you can see these are Chinese immigrant workers who are working on the railroad.
Yep.
But again, when you're looking at the dynamite that was used, the tools that were used, I mean, this is really, whew. If you're looking at this particular picture here, we have cliffs. So now you have to blast through that. And one of the things that we got into in previous lessons is talking about dynamite and probably the industrial accidents and whatnot.
And those hardworking Chinese immigrants who were hardworking in the gold rush.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are going to get this built, especially the western portion.
Absolutely.
I know we give a document to our students to analyze that basically says once the white workers hit the hard granite of the Rocky Mountains, they gave up.
That's it.
They were like, we're done. We can't do this.
That's it.
No one's going to do this. And the Chinese immigrants stepped in and got the job done where the white American workers couldn't do it.
Right. I mean, again, when you're looking at the working on the rail, the moving of these steel beams, geez, and the wood itself, the planks.
You see, you have like a railroad tie, and then you lay the beam down, and then it was like a nail goes in each one, and each nail gets hit 4 times.
That's exhausting.
Yeah, it was like you would have a sledgehammer. It was like boom, then you would hit, then I would hit, then we move on to the next one. Monotonous, mind-numbingly boring work, but they got it done.
I mean, I've taken a sledgehammer to a huge tire for exercise, and after about 20 minutes, that's it. We're done. This is 12-hour days.
12-hour
picking up,
days.
like heavy things
Seven,
like that.
probably 7 days a week.
Easy.
They're probably not giving them a day off.
No.
Maybe the white workers got days off. The
Maybe.
Chinese did not.
No. Totally taking advantage of
And
that
it was the
situation.
Chinese workers that essentially will get this railroad built.
I mean, again, when you're looking at the dangerous conditions, one of the things you look here, there's a lot from this particular photograph. It gives you the terrain that they were working through. If you're bragging about building 10 miles of track in one day, that had to be a very, very tough feat.
Most people don't even walk
That's a
in
good.
one day.
That's a good point.
And they're laying 10 miles of railroad track
right.
in one day.
So if they had a Fitbit on, the Fitbit would be like, dude, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
At this point.
I mean, I like to think we're pretty fit guys.
Right.
I average 14,000 to 16,000
It's
steps
about where
a
I'm
day.
at. Yeah.
This would probably be like 70,000 steps in one day.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy.
And who knows what the conditions are like that. I mean, we're talking about, there's a heat wave going on.
Yeah.
Heat waves, they're not stopping. You know, certain things to keep in mind. Do workers have rights at this point? No.
Nope.
When you're talking about proper personal protective equipment like hard hats or any of these, they're not existing
Yeah.
at all. You know, all the power is going to belong to the person that pays you.
Yeah, like if I missed with my sledgehammer and hit Mr. Heeg in the toe, it's like the owner would come around and be like, dude, rub some dirt on it and
Right.
get back to work.
Yeah. Maybe they had duct tape.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Duct tape. If I had duct tape on the Titanic, it would
Oh,
not have
you'd
sank.
be fine.
Yep.
Okay, quick. Some of us here, all right, we have this bridge that's created by rail lines. What movie are we talking about?
I'm thinking Toy Story 3.
Yeah! There you go.
Or Back to the Future 3.
Oh, good one. Right, yeah.
You know, but yeah, I mean, so think, like, okay, so you come to a ravine, you come to a canyon. Now you have to stop laying track and build this massive bridge to traverse that terrain, to get over that ravine or that canyon or whatever it is. Like, so again, just
And again, I mean...
Stand By Me. Remember the
Yes, walking on the... Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if you have the
Absolutely.
quintessential movie from the 1980s, boys and girls, if you have not watched Stand By Me, gotta watch it.
And now, since we're talking about the beginning of Toy Story, was
Three.
Toy Story 3. You know, if you recall, I think the train was carrying money as well.
Okay.
Was that it? When they were going to rob the train?
I just
Trains.
remember the little aliens. Like,
Yes.
they were on the train.
Okay, but I figured when we're talking about moving certain things, you know, again, you know, this is how money is going to get moved as well.
Yeah.
I think that was the point I was going to try to make there. But again, similar to some of the gold mining, you'd have to do, you know, again, using dynamite and using workers to, you know, kind of move through these cliffs. Unbelievable. I mean, it is just so cool. And then, of course, you know, you're going to start to see when it comes to advertising, you know, the railroad's going to be involved. Speed, comfort, safety. You know, that's not just words that are coming out of our mouths. That's, you know,
Yeah,
marketing.
Once this thing was
Yeah.
completed, you know, the 6-month journey from basically Independence, Missouri to San Francisco
Right.
was now reduced to about 4 to 6 days.
Yeah. Have you ever traveled across the country by train?
By train now.
This is something my wife wants to do, and I'm like, all right, I'll do it, because I just, you know, I
So
want
those two, the Union Pacific and Central Pacific Rail lines, they eventually will meet in Utah.
Promontory Point.
Promontory Point, Utah, and the driving of the Golden Spike.
So here's the meeting that Mr. Cogan and myself were just mentioned. This is a cartoon that's kind of capturing that.
And yet again, who's being forced up?
Yeah,
The
exactly.
buffalo
You
and
know,
the
there's a lot
Americans.
of paintings and
Yeah.
political cartoons where it's like they're there and they're kind of,
Oh, wow.
unfortunately, scattering. But when we
Go back for a second.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
love the guy who's up on the mountain. Like, what the heck's going on?
Oh,
That's my land.
Yes, there's going to be a lot that comes out of this. But when we talk about, you know, you looked at actual photos from previous slides where which showing Chinese workers actually building the railroad. Now, yes, look, you see, big moment,
Like the moment of the decade.
yes. And, all right, you know, we are now meeting here. All right, the rail lines have been built. This is a moment. We don't have, you know, phones to take selfies on, but, you know, if Twitter and phones were involved, this is one of these moments that would be viral.
Yep.
Without a doubt.
Absolutely.
So let's see. The workers who helped to build the rail lines. Do I see any Chinese immigrant
None.
workers? Not one.
Literally pushed out of the way, told to go stand over there while they pose for this picture.
So if you look at Native Americans that are scattering in this one, you know, the Chinese immigrants who helped to build this were really pushed off.
Yeah.
This was horrible. This is something that you could possibly see one day on a test. That's just a hint here. But if we're looking at rail line versus canals, and you're looking at like the way of the future and why something like this would go viral, you know, in 1830 you have canal lines that are, you know, in terms of mileage, you know, over 500, right around 550, and you start to see that change when we get to the 1840s. You know, the canals had the lead over the rail lines, but not for long. And by the time you get to 1850, it's all rail lines. So in terms of shipping,
It's the future.
yeah, it is the future. You had to pretty much adapt there. And of course, that was the golden spike that was used here.
It didn't last that long.
Right. That was put in a museum, correct?
It was stolen.
Was it?
It was stolen
That one I
later
didn't
that
know.
night.
Wow.
It was stolen later that night and eventually recovered.
Okay.
And then put in
That
a
one I
museum.
missed, I'll be honest. And of course, you know, when you're looking at businesses that want to capitalize off of that, you know, the Golden Hotel was right nearby. Why did they call it Golden? Because the Golden Spike was put in right over here at the site. So this train stops 20 minutes for supper at the Golden Hotel, Promontory Point, Utah. You know, you have first class meals for 50 cents. We'll pause for laughter on that one. This site is significant because this is the completing of the Transcontinental Railroad. The spike was driven at this point, May 10th, 1869. Don't fail to treat yourself to a first-class meal at this celebrated point, which is pretty interesting. How they're attacked. Anything else you want to add to the building of the railroad?
Faster, easier, cheaper, safer, more efficient, whatever you just.
You know, all those wonderful lines, you're going to see that apply to quite a few things. You're going to see it applied to steel. You're going to see it applied to, you know, mass production. You're going to see it applied to fast food, banking, you know, all of these things. You know, the faster, cheaper, easier, much more efficient. You're going to see those words come up.
And what this is going to encourage.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm a poor farmer living in New York and I didn't take the risk to go out west for the gold rush because, you know what, I didn't even have enough money to get out there.
Yeah.
Because that 6-month journey, I didn't have enough to do.
No.
But now it's like, all right, maybe for a train ticket, 6 days I'm there. Maybe if it doesn't work out, I can come back. So it's going to. It's
As a
gonna
farmer,
change
you're going to be
the
able to
face of
ship.
America.
You're
Yeah.
going to be able to ship your crops. I mean, that's going to be a whole separate thing when we're talking about trade and commerce. But you know,
And
this
you're gonna
is
see the cattle drives.
Oh,
It's-
yeah.
the train is everything.
it really is. Anything else? I think we're good.
Yeah,
Here.
we
Okay.
got
good.
it.
All right. Good.